So as shame increases, so do our secrets. So do so does our hiding. We tend to keep ourselves out of certain situations so that those situations don't uncover these dark truths about us. We we learn to hate that internalized other that we're so afraid of. Why? Because we don't like feeling fear all the time. If something makes us feel afraid all the time, we learn to hate it. In fact, that is the quickest pathway to hatred. Imagine if somebody in your neighborhood was always making you feel unsafe in your own neighborhood, you would start to see them as a threat and they would become a target of your enmity very quickly. But because this thing exists inside of you, now you fear parts of your own being and you feel the need to therefore control them. If I can't control this entity inside of me, then I have no peace. And if you're constantly fighting a war inside of yourself in order to have peace, guess what? You're never going to have peace. So oftentimes, because that's futile, we end up trying to fight this war in our exterior circumstances. We try to make sure all the money is right, all the people are right, all the relationships are right. We're getting the certain amount of love that we need. We're getting loved in the exact right love language that we need. We're trying to acquire the material and non-material aspects of what we need so much that we can feel like we have all our bases covered. And no matter how much of this we acquire, we still haven't resolved this fundamental split in our own psyche. And this is why people can literally win the entire world and still lose themselves. So this shame contributes to anxiety, depression, stress, hypervigilance, overworking yourself, perfectionism, right? Perfectionism is just, I have to do something public. So it has to be something that no one will judge as lesser. And I don't really know exactly what people could say about it. So I have to make it perfect according to the subjective views of everybody, which is just insanity, right? And I say this as somebody who's dealt with a lot of perfectionism over the years and still do. It literally puts you in a impossible situation where you're going to lose every single time. There's just not a situation where you're going to be perfectionistic and it's going to work out for you. And if it does work out, all it does is deepen the cycle. Ultimately, this makes you more needy, makes you more dependent. You're going to fall into codependence and you are going to start to act on compulsion. You're going to be doing a lot of things that you don't want to do, but you don't feel like you have a choice. Now, specifically, we're talking about shame in a way that will help us lose weight, right? Well, this is where we're going to be eating compulsively. Why we're eating, and it feels like there's another will inside of us. Well, now you're starting to see why we feel like there are separate wills inside of us, because once we internalize these, psychological avatars of the other, we end up in constant conflict with them. And yeah, basically, without going into it too much, because I teach an entire course on this. Compulsion, fear-based decisions, avoidance. We're so busy trying to stay away from the things we don't want that we can't actually get the things we want, which if we're obsessed with control, that's going to be a problem. And this just keeps us in a loop, right? A constant loop that just adds to more shame, more inadequacy, more self-hatred, more self-conflict, more need to control the self and others. Meanwhile, our awareness of what's actually going on in our inner world is lessening by the day, right? Because shame doesn't want to be seen. Basically, if shame isn't seen, it's not real, right? So we hide it from ourselves. That's the thing about shame that's really insidious, is that we lose our awareness of it because in our minds, if we don't see it, no one else can. So we lose our sense of safety within our own self, which is our peace. We lose self-trust because we're constantly doing things that we don't want to do. And we've lost our motivation and therefore our freedom. So we lose essential trust in ourselves because we're doing things we don't want to do and we're not doing things that we do want to do. And we've lost our independence. We are now subservient. We are now scrolling, looking for people to guide us because we can't guide ourselves. And quite frankly, this is where a lot of people find themselves. They're simply not capable of guiding themselves, and they do need help initially to get their self-trust back, to learn to dampen some of these messages, and these are so loud and so punishing that it really does, we really do need help from the outside. We need an objective mirror, you could say, an objective person to help us really stay grounded in reality. That's what a really good therapist or coach is going to do, because ultimately grounding in reality is what's going to help you undo all of this.